Welcome back, folks, to the Mailright Show. This is episode 234. It's going to be an internal discussion between me and Robert. We're both still well. We haven't got the plague, either of us, yet. Obviously, in these strange times, listeners and viewers, we thought it was best to have an episode where we discuss how we, if we were a active agent, how we would be dealing with circumstances that we are facing at the present moment. So I've got my great co-host, Robert, with me. Robert, would you like to quickly introduce yourself to the new listeners and viewers?
Sure. I'm going to do a little bit of a different introduction, and it is going to be a second longer than usual, John, because I think that we're in unusual times. Mm-hmm. And what I'm going to say is that I've been a professional salesperson in the real estate marketing space for 13 years. And the reason that that's relevant today is I was actually in this business when the last market slowdown happened, 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011. And some of the things that I'm going to share with you throughout the show and that I'm going to reference in the show today is going to be tips and tricks that I've created based upon that incredibly unusual experience, because I've really been here since actually things were much worse for real estate then than they are now. I think that real estate is going to end up being a linchpin of our current economy. We just have to figure out how to encourage people to do business digitally. And that's what we're going to talk about this show. So with that, John, I have lots of other things I could say about myself. I don't think it's relevant for this show. You go ahead and introduce yourself and let's get off to the races.
Yeah, sure, folks. I'm the CEO of Mailright. Mailright offers you a number of online tools to promote your local business, real estate business, and also get quality leads. We're offering a free one-page marketing plan, which will be personalized for you. Go over to the Mailright site and you'll be able to book a session with me personally using Zoom, and we'll get that marketing plan developed and given to you for free. So like what Robert says, we live in unusual times, but we are here in this episode to give you some great advice. So Robert, where do you want to start off with?
So let's talk about, I'd like to follow the format that I did on my, in my letters to my clients, and the format that we're going to follow, folks, is we're going to follow the following format. First, we're going to talk a little bit about messaging. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the tools to deliver this message virtually and to create a sense of comfort and stability in times which people might not be feeling comfortable or stable. And then we're going to wrap up with some very specific tips about not only how you can survive, but maybe even thrive in this particular marketplace. So, John, if you don't mind, without any further ado, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get into it. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So in terms of marketing and messaging, it's funny to me because I remember so vividly the last marketplace, and what struck me as two similar things that are happening right now is there's a lot of people that are basically climbing onto their roof and they're saying the world is on fire. I mean, effectively, they're going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And you know what? It is definitely something to be concerned about. But here's the thing. You take the precautions that you can take. You do business virtually. You socially distance yourself from other people. And then very quickly, people right now are going to realize that beyond those things that they need and should be doing to keep their family safe, they also need to keep their business safe. They need to keep their livelihood safe. And everybody's going to realize that. Your qualified real estate investors, those of you that have them, those people are going to realize that they're looking finally at a market where there's opportunity, and there hasn't really been a lot of great opportunity. You had to look really hard for the opportunities that you're going to find. And right now there's going to be a lot of opportunity right in front of you, especially already I've seen a deep pickup in the real estate investment, the real estate development section of real estate. I have clients that are not just doing well, they're doing extraordinarily well. Deals that they've been working on for a while have closed. So how do you position yourself in such a way that is responsible and proactive? So the first thing is I strongly suggest that you have to acknowledge in a very transparent way exactly what's happening in the world. Nobody knows what's going to happen with real estate. All we know is that real estate is not seeing the impact that the stock market is seeing. So right now, currently, as we speak, real estate prices are still remaining static, and they probably will for the next 30 or 60 days as people try to figure out what's happening in the market. We know that money is very cheap, and for some people that's scary, and for other people they're looking at it and going, oh, that's a huge advantage. My advice is not to push one thing or another, but to give the message as you understand it. Do your research, look around, see how people are talking about real estate. Maybe talk to some of your other compatriots, and like other real estate professionals. I know that usually you guys all stay far separated because you view each other as competition most of the time. But this would be a time to let go of that and talk to other people and ask them questions about, are they seeing an impact in their business? Most of the people I'm talking to aren't seeing much of an impact in their real estate business. Maybe that's just yet, but it hasn't happened. So telling your customers first and foremost, whatever the factual reality of your marketplace is, like I sent out an email to my customers saying that right now, digital traffic for real estate is down about 15 to 18%. But on all my lead generating campaigns, we are still seeing leads come in, not at the clip that we were previously, but they are still coming in. Traffic is down not as much as I personally thought it would be. I thought it would be more impacted, but apparently it's only about a 15 to 18% decline. And not only did I do my research on my own 50 or so real estate websites, but also Neil Patel, who has a much bigger audience to compare with, he did an analysis, and his analysis showed the exact same thing that my analysis did in terms of real estate, which is that traffic was only currently down about 15 to 18%. So getting that message out to your customers, maybe linking them the reference sources, would be step number one. Basically doing a market update, and talking about how, what you're seeing. Become a voice of reason and logic inside an illogical world. And I think that it's very important, John, that people do that first, that they be the first voice that is hearing. What do you think?
Well, I think you're so right. And probably a lot of agents ain't going to do that, which is interesting, isn't it? But, this isn't the time to send out automatic market report, which a lot of brokerages will get their agents to sign up for. This is the time to spend a little bit of time on something personalized that has some real value to the people you're representing, isn't it?
It is. And that's a great segue. So let's just say that you're going to listen to this podcast today and you're going to try to figure out, all right, I'm going to listen to these guys. And you've probably heard the same message from other voices inside the industry. I know that two of the guys, one of the Facebook marketing guys, Tom Travis, that I follow, he's been saying the same thing. Tom Ferry has been saying the same thing. Christoph Chu has been saying the same thing. So guys, every top producer I know in real estate is taking the precautions that they can take for their family, and then they're moving on and doing business with social distancing taken into account. So how do you do that? How would you, the average real estate agent, not somebody that has the kind of audience that Tom or Christoph does, how do you do that? So John and I have been talking about these things for a long time, and we're going to talk to you about a little bit about them today, and we're going to talk about our favorite tools. So the tool that we're using today that I'm going to let John talk about a little bit because he's way more familiar with it. So first and foremost, in terms of virtual communication, the tool that you're looking at us shoot, for those of you that watch the videos, we're using Zoom to film these videos. John, just real quick, can you please tell the audience, how long does it take to set up? How much does it cost? What has your experience been using this tool? Because I know you've been using it a lot longer than I have.
Yeah, I think, one of the attractions of Zoom is it's very rock solid, but there's been so much additional people signing up for Zoom and general traffic, that I understand from some people that it's been a little bit iffy. Funny enough, the podcasting I've been doing today, because I do another show earlier on than this, Thursdays on my podcasting day, it's still been rock solid. So the main attraction is it's pretty rock solid. Secondly, you can sign up for a fully functioning version of Zoom for free. Its only restriction is that the meetings are limited to 45 minutes. Thirdly, the paid version is not expensive, really. And you can get a very good deal, a sizable discount if you pay yearly. The monthly paid starter plan is around $15 a year, but if you pay yearly, you get that reduced to $12 a month, which works out as something slightly below $150 a year. Considering what you get for that $150, I think it's a very good investment, and much better than Skype and some of the other browser-based conference-based systems, which utilizes technology from Chrome, from Google and their Chrome browser. But I've personally found that that technology stack can be a little bit flaky at best. The other beautiful thing about Zoom is it's compatible on all devices, and it's rock solid from iPhone to Android to iPad to Mac to PC. They have a downloadable application that works and works well. The only additional thing I would point out is that for these shows, and for some extent, something you could consider if you're really going to really delve into the world of Zoom, is an add-on which they utilize to add webinar functionality. And for doing presentations, bringing people in from the community into online debate, for promoting yourself on Facebook and bringing guests in, it's probably something worth considering, even if you're not going to do your kind of normal webinar. And for this additional webinar add-on functionality, you have to pay an additional $40 a month. And they don't offer any kind of yearly discount if you pay yearly for that 40. So it's best just to pay it monthly at $40. So for $52 a month, you get a pretty solid communication group broadcasting platform that has a lot of functionality, Robert.
Perfect. That's excellent. So guys, Zoom is one tool. Zoom is, as John has shared, is a screen sharing tool, and I'm bouncing around between it. For those of you that are gonna circle back around and watch this, either you're tuning in live and you're seeing me do this live, or you're gonna circle back around and you're gonna watch it on YouTube when John puts up the YouTube video under the MailRite YouTube channel or on the MailRite website. I eventually copy the content and put it on Inbound REM, but I'm usually somewhere between 2 and 4 weeks behind where we are at in terms of shows. So for rapid digestion, which I think a lot of you are going to be interested in, you're going to want to go to the MailRite sites right now. And if you just want to go through old shows, you can go to either one of our sites and do it. John has a great way that he puts on the text part of our show into his show notes. And what I do is I rewrite the content and throw it up like in a slightly different way on my site. I don't recommend, like, either one is good. Neither one is good, better or worse. Like, you should just decide where you want to absorb that content, because a lot of you are going to be inside your home. So if you're curious to know things that we've said on these topics in the past, definitely go to one of our 2 websites and look up old shows. But in terms of how do you leverage these tools, or actually, let me rephrase, there's other tools that you could use too. So this is one type of digital communication, and it has a higher cost, but it has higher functionality as well. Other kinds of tools that you could use where you could get a lot of free functionality and are as follows. For those of you that are listening to the show and you're listening to it after we finished it, grab your pen and piece of paper, because I'm going to lay some deep knowledge on you.
I'm going to interrupt, actually. This is a good moment for us to go for our break. And when we're coming back, Robert will be giving some more great tips about some great free tools. We'll be back in a few moments, folks. We're coming back. I thought that was a good opportunity moment for me to have the break, to build suspense. Back over to you, Robert.
All right. So WhatsApp. For those of you who have traveled internationally, you'll know, as I know, that this is the de facto communication tool that almost everybody uses for phone calls when they're traveling internationally. You can be in another country and avoid carrier costs. WhatsApp is owned by Facebook. It is a rock solid digital communications tool. I've already had my entire team download it as a backup option. I know a lot of people don't know this, but Facebook has been building its own internet infrastructure in many parts of the world, which means that their network is using different things than other people's internet networks is, which means that one tool may not work for you and another might, which is why we're going to recommend more than one tool that does the same thing. All right. So WhatsApp, that's a communication tool, very similar to Skype. In my opinion, and a lot of other people's opinion, WhatsApp is actually slightly better than Skype. But Skype is definitely the more used tool. Almost everybody that I know has some kind of Skype account. They've been in the market of overseas communication, internet communication for so many years. They got out in front of it a long time ago. So Skype is the second recommendation. You can do screen shares in Skype. You can do person-to-person communication. You can do video chats. You can do most of the same thing with WhatsApp. I'm not an expert WhatsApp user. I've only used it for text messages and phone calls when I've been traveling overseas, but I de facto switch over to it when I move into overseas. So if any of you have overseas clients that have been talking to you about transactions in the US, actually WhatsApp is probably a better way to try to communicate with them than Skype is. That's why I'm bringing it up specifically. The other tools, in terms of, and I know a lot of you aren't aware of this, but anybody who's under 40 years old has already, in many cases, started to use tools like Instagram, like Facebook Messenger. They're oftentimes using these tools as what we who are older would have called text messaging tools. We used to use AIM back in the day. But now people have moved over to Facebook and Instagram, and these things can be used for text chat, FaceTiming. Actually, Facebook can be used for FaceTiming. And the interesting thing is that actually Facebook separated out the tools. So it's not Facebook that you're using when you're using communication, you're using Messenger. And what you want to do is you want to install Messenger, which is a separate application than Facebook. And you want to, then you can probably do face-to-face communication with your clients. You can do what is the essential, if you're an Apple user, you would call that FaceTime, and you can use face-to-face communication. My advice about how to use that is if people need to see specific elements in a home, you arrange a time with a homeowner where social distancing can be honored. In other words, they stay 6 feet away, but you come through the home with your phone using FaceTime or any of these tools, and you start to cover particulars in the home so that the end user, your contractor, whoever it is, they don't have to. You drive there, you respect social distancing, you use FaceTime, and you move through to answering questions just like you would any other time, except now you've created an appointment with somebody to do it. For appointment setting, you use Google Calendar. That's my favorite app. That's what John and I use consistently. And it connects into all your other Google tools and reminds you that you have an appointment. So the way that you do this specifically is you'd say, do you need to see something in the home with the client?
Yeah, I've got a little tip there actually. A lot of agents use Gmail, and Gmail is a great service, folks, but it's not professional enough, and you certainly don't want to have your email linked to your broker email address, which is allocated to you. So what's the alternative? You want basically like MailRite. So you could email me at jonathan@mail-right.com or robert@inboundrem.com. Now, to get that set up, you don't actually necessarily need a website, but what you do need is a domain name. And you can do this through another service of Google called G Suite. I wouldn't buy the domain name through G Suite. A lot of people do that. I would advise you not to. What I would advise you to is buy your domain name, so your what your business is known as in your area, right? I would go to GoDaddy and spend about $12 for a .com with whatever your brand name in your local area is, and buy that domain name. And I wouldn't be tempted by their 2-year, their 3-year plan. They will try and upsell you. They will try and sell you a website, whatever they're trying to. Just keep it 1 year for that domain. It probably costs you between $12 and $18. And then the two providers that can provide you with Jonathan at whatever your business name is Google G Suite, or another company called Zoho.com. That's ZOHO.com. And it's Zoho does a number of services. So you want Zoho Mail. Now with G Suite, it will cost you $6 a month for one inbox. You can have multiple different email addresses going to that inbox. Like you could have support at mail-right or sales at mail-right.com. You can have up to 30 different emails, but they all go to the same inbox. If you want multiple inboxes, it can rapidly get a little bit expensive because each inbox will cost you another $6 per month. And they don't offer a yearly discount, Google. Now with Zoho, if you go with one of their paid plans, they do offer a free plan, but it is a little bit crippled. But Zoho, you can get 5 inboxes for $1 a month. So you can get 5 inboxes for a team. So it would be Robert at Inbound REM, Patricia at Inbound REM, 5 inboxes at 5 gig of space each for $1 a month. So it would cost you $12. And that's how you get a professional email address, because using Gmail is great for personal email. I have a personal Gmail account, but I don't use it for my business. Do you think I haven't lost too many people, hopefully, Robert?
I don't think you have, but I am going to move past the email inbox stuff because there's a lot of other ground I want to cover, and I don't want to keep everybody here for forever. So guys, that we've talked about email a little bit, but guess what? Some of you, a lot of you are going to have a sphere of influence. You're going to have real estate clients that you've done business with for a long time. And many of you have not yet done mass email out to these consumers. So my next tip is going to deal with how do you do that and not get charged, a ton of money right now. And my answer to that is MailChimp. It's far and away not the only service. Only reason I'm talking about MailChimp is because I use MailChimp. and they're an established provider. They're probably going to have a better hardware and network infrastructure. The reason that's relevant is that real estate has not been a wildly digital business. John and I have talked about this forever. Like we've in many shows, you'll hear us saying, hey, real estate is behind other industries. But guess what? Real estate is having to catch up real quick right now, like real fast, because we're forced to do business digitally. So talking about who has the infrastructure to handle increased traffic, increased emails is important. So I'm going to recommend MailChimp because they let you send out 1,000 emails without charging you. Their first basic account is free. They have a lot of YouTube, like instruction inside. Their tutorials are extremely good. And in comparison to other email providers, it's a very basic setup. It might take you 30 minutes to just figure out how to do your email template, keep it real basic, maybe even just text, and then it'll take you very little time. You're not trying to be fancy, and just get your messaging out to your customers. Get it out first. Talk about the things that they can be doing to keep their family safe. And then of course, talk about the things that you're doing to protect their interest in terms of being a real estate business person. Like I'm going to do social distancing. These are the things I've been doing for my clients that are under contract, because I promise you, there are people out there right now that are thinking about, wow, you know, everybody knows, everybody that's read a single business book in their life knows that guys like Warren Buffett, they're looking at this entire marketplace as an opportunity. It's sad to say, and I'm not trying to say, let's not be hawkish about it, but it's just a reality. As the market sinks, people that have been sitting.
I totally agree. Can I recommend an alternative to MailChimp?
Sure.
Yeah, I would also look at a company called MailerLite. They offer a good free plan that's very similar to MailChimp. But one of the good factors is if you go above, with MailChimp, if you go above the 2,000 subscribers, it can get very quickly quite expensive. With MailerLite, when you get to the limit and you have to pay, it's much cheaper than MailChimp. And they offer a very similar interface and product, and I've had quite a few clients that have been happy with it.
Excellent. I know nothing about it, so I will not comment, but if John says it's good, you should really look at it, especially if you have more than 1,000 people in your mailing list. I think that's what I heard you say, is that this is a good alternative if you have a larger mailing list.
Yeah,
so that
because that's one of the models. I think the main thing you've got to understand, and why we're both suggesting either MailChimp or MailerLite, is that you mustn't use like what I've just described previously, either your Gmail, your Outlook, or your Outlook account, your Gmail account. You mustn't utilize that for mass mailing. The limit they place is 200 people per day. And if you go any way above that, they can just close your account because you've broken your terms and conditions. And it's very unlikely that those emails, if you're using your Outlook or your Gmail account, it's very unlikely that those emails will get into the main inbox of your target audience anyway. It's very likely they will end up in spam or the marketing folder of Gmail. So you mustn't use them. The other fact is a lot of people use the hosting provider. Either they've got a hosting account with GoDaddy or Bluehost. Now, that's a better solution than using Gmail or Outlook. But those services, in my experience, they mostly end up in the spam folder. So listen to what Robert says about MailChimp or look at MailerLite.
All right. So we've talked about how to get messaging out via email. We've talked about how to call people. We've talked about how to do screen shares. At some point, and John will kind of signal, but we're gonna make physical an incredible tip that was given on episode number 232 of the MailRite Show, which you can find on John's website. Okay?
Well, I think we're going to have to wrap up the podcast part of the show because we're getting, and you'll be able to see that on the MailRight YouTube channel, the MailRight website, and on Inbound REM at some stage. So we're going to wrap up the podcast, but keep on listening. Transfer to the quickest way I normally publish on the MailRight YouTube channel, the quickest. So stay on to find out this great tip that Robert's going to give us on our bonus content. But we're wrapping up the podcast part of the show. Robert, how can people find out more about you and what you're up to?
We're going to skip that today. How do we find out? Well, actually, we're not. Inbound REM/about. So I'm going to make a special offer for the times that we're in. I don't usually press this, but I'm going to do it right now. Hey guys, if anybody, this is very complicated information. If you want a personal consultation with no obligation, I'm not going to try to sell you any services. I'm not going to try to sell you a website. If you just need to talk to somebody to feel better about doing business digitally, you can go to Inbound REM. That's the word inbound, REM.com/about. And you'll see a link /about/. You'll see a link to my calendar. Just schedule a call with me. And I will give you as much time as I can afford to, at least an hour, maybe more, depending on the circumstance, but for no charge, no obligation, no anything. And I'll walk you through what you need to do to do digital properly for your real estate business.
And I offer the same thing myself. If you want to go to the MailRight website and you want to book a consultation and go through some of the things we discussed on this, I'm always available. So both me and Robert are available to you as a resource for this. So that's great. I think that's excellent value. So we're going to close the podcast part of the show, but continue the discussion, which you'll be able to see on all the MailRight platforms. We'll be back next week to help you some more with either internal discussion or a great guest.
Stay tuned for the bonus.
Yes, stay for the bonus. We'll be back soon, folks. Bye. So on to the bonus, Robert. So off you go.
Okay, so in episode 232, we had an amazing guest. John captured an appointment with the CMO of BombBomb. Now, those that you don't know, and it was this gentleman right here, Stephen Passanelli. I hope I'm saying this man's name correct. He was a great guest. And this is already up. This is already live, which is another thing I like about this bonus is that this is already live on the MailRight website. I don't have it on mine yet. So if you want to see this episode in the show notes, go to John's site and look there. I will eventually have it up on my site. But he gave us a tip that was a gentleman that sold $11 million in real estate in 90 days. But it was specific to a different type of marketplace. It was basically a slightly different real estate market. So I'm going to kind of step you through a template of how to utilize the same tip. So the way that Stephen was recommending that you do it was you do like a BombBomb, okay, which is where you record your screen and you send it to somebody in email. And when they open the email, a video basically automatically starts. And this is incredibly effective for using these email updates if you wanted to do it that way. There's a couple of other ways you could do it, though. No offense to Stephen. You could use a tool called Screencast-O-Matic. You could use the tool that we're using right now, Zoom. Screencast-O-Matic is the cheaper option by far. And Screencast-O-Matic for like $10 a month will allow you to come in and record your screen and record your voice. And you could even do what I've done where we've got the little images as the tile in the upper right-hand corner. And then what you do is you'd apply the tip. We'll just call it the Jim Burgess tip. And because he's the guy that came up with the strategy. So you go to Google Earth, you can see here what the URL is, google.com Earth. And then once you click on search, okay, launch Earth right here, you get this screen, all right? And this screen gives you a very unusual render of neighborhoods and the world at large. You can see it's really cool. And so the way that I would utilize this right now is transparency, honesty, and lower the volume on marketing offers, like actual hard marketing offers. Instead, I would focus on being of service and being calm in a time in which many people are going to be nervous. And the way I would approach that is I go, hey, Mr. Prospect, I know that you live at 4454 Tyrone and 6 months ago we had talked about listing your home, or 6 months ago we had talked about doing some business. Obviously we didn't do any business, and I'm not thinking that we're going to do any business today, but I'm in my house, I'm kind of stuck here, and I just decided I was going to be of service to everybody that I've talked to in the last 12 months. And what I'm going to do is I've read Inman, I've read this real estate resource, I've read the LA Times, and I just wanted to let you know that currently in your neighborhood, surprisingly enough, we've seen no movement in the prices of the homes, and it might be a little bit early to make that decision. And here's how you would I just want to show you how cool this is. You go look up another address, for instance, watch how it pulls around. Okay, so it gives you this super cool view. I've even looked in the surrounding neighborhoods, and prices seem to be holding steady. There doesn't seem to be any movement. So what you might consider doing right now, Mr. Prospect, Mr. Passanelli, let's just say, is that this is a great time to focus on those home projects that you've been doing. In order to improve the value of your home. I know that we talked about that briefly, but now is the time. If you're stuck at home, if you have to work from home and you're searching around for projects, what I've got available for you, and you just have to reach out to me and let me know, is I have a list of 450 things that you can be doing on the home to improve the value. And honestly, you do have access to that audience because another amazing real estate legend, John M. Geffen, who is the head of broker services at a brokerage in the South called Benchmark, he has created an incredible resource for free right now. Currently it's free. This costs nothing. So you go to where it says resources, you click on it, and you see where it says 400 ideas to sell your home faster? So that's this document right here. It's incredible. What he's created here is incredible. It's not only a list of 450 things, but you could digitally or manually print this out, and he's got checklists for each section, every single room in the house, preliminary work, the exterior, preliminary work, the exterior, and to-dos and checklists. It's an amazing resource. Make sure that you give John the credit that he deserves, because currently he's not reselling this or remarketing this. But if you want a ready to go to list and you're willing to say that it came from John, then look at this. It's insane, and it's already built for you. So you really do have that list. And so if anybody says, oh yeah, I would like to see that list, you can just email him this list, because he's offering the download for free. So that's what I've got. I hope that's helpful to some of you. I think it would be incredibly relevant, because now you've sent them 450 ideas and what they could do to improve their home. John, what do you think?
I think that's great, and we're going to have John back, because he was one of our guests on one of our previous podcast shows, and he was a fantastic guest, wasn't he?
Oh God, he was amazing. He was amazing.
Yeah, I might probably do some outreach tomorrow to him and see if he come back on the show. He said he would. I've got a tip. It's a tip that me and Robert have been hammering away consistently, and you know, if you are at home, this really is the time to either upgrade your Google business page or to claim it. And I'm aghast still at the amount of agents that haven't claimed their Google business page. And then I'm secondly aghast at the amount that don't fill it all up with all the free ability you have to fill it up with videos, posts, your hours that you operate, your full address, your contact information. And when it comes to people finding you, or especially if they're looking at property and they're searching for an agent on their mobile device, doing that will make you 100% more competitive than most agents in the local market. Would you agree with that, Robert?
Unbelievably. So I'm going to add on to what John has said. I have slightly different circles I travel in, and one of those circles is I know a lot of guys that provide hyper-local services, is what they're called in the SEO world. But hyper-local services right now is like 50% of the valuable business that these guys are doing is exactly what John just recommended, except that those guys are going to charge you $1,000 for something that with a little bit of motivation you could do yourself in 3 to 5 hours. And I'm not joking. They'll charge you 500, 1,000 or more to basically go and do the things that John just suggested, which, by the way, they're not complicated at all. This is not a complicated tip. You sign up for Google My Business or claim your page, and it's very clearly steps you through the process of creating a post, adding pictures, putting your business profile in, asking what hours you're in, setting up your review section. And lots and lots and lots of people go to this page in order to review you as a local service provider. It's probably more relevant for a real estate agent than Yelp.
I think also it's also got now almost as powerful as Zillow or Realtor.com. I would extend that, but also go to Zillow and also go to Realtor.com and properly and totally get a free account with those two online providers. They offer free accounts. You don't have to spend a penny with them, and fill in your bio of those two platforms and fill it in totally, and also upload the same videos that you uploaded to your Google business page. Upload those to those two platforms as well. And you'll get enormous benefit without having to spend a penny. And I'm amazed at the amount of agents that don't do that. Robert, would you agree?
I would absolutely agree. For the much larger group of you that tuned in live, John and I really appreciate your patronage. There's about 6 of you that have popped in and popped out during the course of this show, which is a little bit more than we usually get in terms of a live in-presence audience. I don't know about John, but assuming that all the network infrastructures remain in place, we intend to keep doing this show every Thursday at the same time, in the same place. I know a lot of you are stuck at home and tuning into things that you wouldn't normally tune in. I'm speaking for myself here, but I hope you tune in to us. We'd love to have your ear, and we'll try to continue to provide a lot of value for you in the show.
Yeah, I think it's time to wrap it up, but I think we have provided some great tips, and it's been a great conversation, and thanks for coming and doing this with me, Robert. I think over the past year, we provided tons of great value, plus with our guests, and we've got some good guests coming up. So just keep at it, folks. The market will get better. It sorts the men from the boys, really, a market like this. And it's a great opportunity to prove that you're a really serious agent and you're the person to hire.
Or the girls from the women.
Yes. Oh, I was trying not to be sexist there. Thank you for pointing that out. We'll be back next.
It's the times we live in.
We'll be back next week, folks. Bye.
All right. Bye.